Why are we called Negroes? Why are we deaf, dumb, and blind? Why is everybody making progress, yet we seem to be lagging so far behind?
Good rising, everyone. Good rising. No matter what time of the day it is, good rising doesn't mean just waking up in the early part of the day when the sun is coming up. You can always rise. Good rising doesn't mean just, okay, I have a whole day in front of me and I'm going to start it. The day never starts. You just jump into something that has been happening already. And you can always rise, no matter what time of the day or night it is. It's for you to realize that wonderful things are happening and you expand according to the expansion of your consciousness and your awareness. It's always there. You know, how long does it take for you to realize that you could be out in the jungle, out in the country, out in the woods, many miles away from a restaurant? And if you don't realize that those mangoes, those watermelons, those pears and peaches and apples are there for you to eat, you're going to get very hungry. But there's a beauty to hunger, because it forces you to expand, to realize that when you see that particular fruit fall down to the ground and you see the insects jump on it, or maybe a bird will grab a few berries and eat them and fly on, something goes off in your head that this is food. So sometimes we have to be put in a situation where we feel as though we are helpless. And then that situation makes us realize that we're empowered. We're all wired differently. And I'm quite sure many elementary school teachers can see that. They can see what we have a propensity for as an individual. You know, when you see a person who has grown to an adult age and you have another person who is older than them, and that young person becomes a successful business person, that older person will say, well, you know what? I always saw that in you. I knew that there was something about you that would have driven you to become such a great business person, because the way your mind was then and how you moved. Just the same way, if you see that person who always got in trouble, who always was a rabble-rouser, never paying attention to their work, it doesn't surprise you when they end up in a life that lands them in poverty. Not that people who are in poverty did that to themselves, but this particular person ends up incarcerated time and time again. It's not hard for you to say, you know what? I saw that in you. And even when you see certain traits in children, we all must know that there's nature and nurture. Sometimes it's inside of them and influenced that way. They have a predisposition for certain things. And sometimes it's nurture, where you understand the environment that they grew up in has a big influence on who they eventually become. And we're not going to nitpick on how much of nature and how much of nurture, but we know that those two factors have a profound influence on how a person turns out. The thing that we have to focus on is the nurture. Because when something's ingrained in someone and that's their destiny, that's just what's going to happen. So my point with all of this, what I'm leading up to, is that I've learned a lot in the last 24 hours. I have to thank someone in particular for sharing with me certain information that has caused me to release so much that was on me, meaning that there were no hidden traumas inside of me. Yes, there is great pain inside of me, as with many people who don't want to deal with their pain, but I face mine. I do. But to realize how to handle it, because you're not going to go through this life without scraping your knee, without bumping your elbow, and sometimes many of us fall on our head. And so when you have your own set of trauma and you're willing and working feverishly to deal with it and bring yourself into a place of healing, many of us will feel that those in our life have the same mindset to work feverishly to deal and rid their traumas from the past and to know how to handle it and to heal. Healing is the greatest thing. But what I've found out and what I've recently realized because of my conversations and information shared with me is that everybody that you love is not on the same level as you. And many of these people, they hold on to their traumas. They love their traumas. Their trauma is a way of life for them. And how dare I try to help them remove something that they hold on so near and dear to, but they also partially realize that this is a toxic way of being, of thinking, of feeling that you have this limitation of this trauma, that you must bring this trauma with you everywhere you go. And that what you're used to is what must be. That you cannot open up your eyes to see even more so. You can't open up your eyes to see the blockages that are there that you hope to spend time with. Yes, trauma bonding. Folks who have been through the same trauma have a bond already between them, even before they knew each other. They're bonded by this trauma. And now that we found these people who have the same trauma, how dare you try to free me of that I know so well that's not good for me. But I'm going to continue on with the same rhythm. You know, most people here who follow this particular platform, Lancescurv, they know that I love boxing, the sport of boxing, the technical side of it. The business side of it, more so than anything else, it's the business side of it, probably 85% of what I love. And the business end of it, although fights are far and few between these days, unlike the days of yesteryear back in the 70s, when I don't care who it was that was fighting, I was glued to the TV screen. The business aspect, the moves to set the fights up, the dealings between promoters and managers and lawyers and trainers, the legalities, the egos, the personalities, the bargaining for more money. You see, that fascinates me. And I've been following that for a very long time, even from very young. So it's not just about two people punching each other. And one thing that I would see in life, I see things that most people don't see, and people see things that I don't see. And this is how we learn from each other. But of the things that I see, I remember seeing a fight, and this individual, they both were very well trained, but there was this one fighter who, he was very well trained. It doesn't matter if you look like an Adonis in your body, but his reflexes, his timing, those things were on point. And this is why many of us will see someone who is muscular and in shape and figure, wow, they're going to beat this guy who doesn't look as muscular and shape. The guy has a little fat on him. He's going to beat him down. And just like with the fight with Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz, who really looked like a big fat beer belly, whatever, his timing, his training, brought him to a place where he beat Anthony Joshua, who looked like a bodybuilder, easily. I'm saying that to say this: the well-trained fighter, both of them, there was one who was really better as far as his natural abilities, but he got caught with a very hard blow, and it knocked him out, and he was on his back. His feet were twisted in, you know, the nerves that are going on, the things that are going on with your body is pulling switches that, you know, to survive. And it was evident by the way his body was contorted. But would you believe that he was on his back and he was still throwing slow motion punches while he laid there like he was paralyzed, but he was contorted, like he was hit by a car, and slowly he was throwing these punches. What did that tell me? Mental and muscle memory is so strong. He trained and he knew so well what to do that even when he was disconnected from his consciousness, he continued to have the desire to throw punches. Of course, now he's on his back and it's like he's just reaching up at the air, but you could see clearly that in his mind, automatically, he had trained for so long, and this was part of him, that he continued to throw punches. And while his condition wasn't a good thing, it showed that the level of training had saturated down to the deepest portals of his brain. And that's a good thing, even though he found himself losing the fight and knocked out. So, how many individuals in your life do you see that you love, that you want the best for? No matter how much you try to share with them, help them, make them see what they don't see, they're so attached to their traumas that they will die with it. When I witness transition, when I witness what they call funerals, homecoming services, whatever you want to call it, you know, many of us are, if we're attached to that person who has transitioned, we have connections to them. And we think about their life because now their life in our mind plays out like a video. And videos don't last forever. You may hear a song and it's 3 minutes long, or an extended version, 7 minutes long, or one of those Michael Jackson videos that look like sound like movies and had the length of movies and the whole acting. And it's like, whoa, this thing is 30-something minutes long. But whatever it is, and whatever your proximity to that person who has transitioned and you're looking at the shell of a body that they left behind, you now see the beginning, even if you're younger than them and you know the beginning and what part came into your life, and you see the end. And because of the magic of video, we can listen to the person's voice, or, you know, see their opinions and see them in their own natural state long before. And you think, wow, while they were enjoying this moment, or while they were doing this particular day was on its way, but we don't know. And whether it's good or bad, we pass the test. And I wouldn't say fail, but we didn't finish the test. We didn't finish the evaluation. We didn't finish the placement exam. And there's certain things that we need to do for ourselves that others can't do for us. And so you, as a person who loves that trauma-ridden person, not as though you don't have any yourself, but you just have to let go. You just have to let them be. Because no matter how hard you fight to make them see things, that they know that you've been batting 95% correct with them, that later on in little examples, they have grown and ascended to say, yo, you know what? You were correct in your assessment. Now, this is not about a person always being right. It's not about that. It's what's best for the situation. But most people don't see that because they're so attracted and attached to their trauma. They know it may be bad for them on one hand, but they go right back to it because it's normalcy for them. And I've used this example before in the past. You have that man or woman, and usually from what we see a lot of, it's usually a woman. But we have men who can be in emotionally abusive relationships. I've been in one, right? Big and strong as I am, sometimes physically you can do something as a man, but it's like, I'm not going to do this because the law is not going to look at it a certain way. So you hold the person, you know what I mean? But they will scar you emotionally with so many negative things that you would not believe would be coming from a person who's supposed to love you. But usually when we see the physical abuse, we see the physical abuse from men to women, the black eyes, the bruises, you know, the arguments. And what hurts the most is the emotional abuse of what they say, because they know you a little better. They have a close, you know, vantage point to you, and they can say things that other people can't say. They can say embarrassing things. They can say hurtful things more so because they're closer to you. And I find that when you have someone who was unable to break the chains of abuse, where when you think back, they grew up seeing that father beat the mother physically, put her down emotionally. Usually it's some substance involved also because of his past trauma that he didn't get over. So the trauma lives on. And that has become normalcy for this example of this particular young lady. So she will meet good men that she can build with and have a wonderful life later on. But she gravitates toward that abusive man. Maybe it's something about the way he looks. Maybe it's the way he talks. You know, she loves her father, even though the father may be gone now or transition, whether it is or not, doesn't matter. She's wired a certain way. And what's normalcy for her is dysfunction for someone else. And she may even know this. She may have girlfriends that say, girl, you don't need to deal with a man like that. You know, we understand that you dealt this way, and we understand that that was something that you were used to growing up, but you got to make a conscious decision to meet someone else or a different type of person that's not going to do these things to you. But the very form of abuse that we had to endure is the very thing oftentimes that turns us on. I'm going to speak on a slightly adult level, but it's not going to be graphic. You know how many women I know in my past, even when I was going through my traumas, by doing certain activities in excess because of my fears, right? And I understand that now, and I realize some things about myself. But they would share things with me because I was always one to talk. It wasn't, you meet this woman, you're going to try to get her in a bed as fast as you can. No, she wasn't just a body, a mere shell. This was a person, and I want to know this person, no matter how brief the entanglement was. And lots of times I found out in our deep conversations of, you know, when they were abused, and many of our sisters were abused, and lots of them don't say anything. They feel they can carry this themselves. And I wish they would see beyond that and let it go through therapy, conversation, and healing. Because it's not easy to let go. So don't take it that I meant it that way. But lots of them, when they were, unfortunately, and sadly enough, abused sexually from a young age, or first experiences where their mold wasn't hardened like concrete, where you can freshly placed concrete, the stereotypical thing you see on the movies where you have a man putting down concrete, somebody runs through and their footprint is in there. They got to go back and do it again. Somebody runs back again, or kids sneak around and imprint their hand in this concrete, right? And they don't know. The man is inside sleeping, finished his concrete, comes out, there's a big hand in there or initials in there. And this is what happens to us when we're young, because our mold of our emotional, mental, and physical concrete is not set yet. So anyone who comes by in a manner that is abrasive or they don't care, They just do things to you because of their trauma, because of what they want to do. They don't understand what they're imprinting into you. So these women who would share with me that they were abused and, forced to do or perform sexual acts, read between the lines, head pushed down, sometimes during intercourse choked. And there's anger in that man, looking at this woman like she's nothing, calling her the B word and just using her like a tool for his twisted trauma-based pleasure. Oftentimes I've found that these same very women, you would think that they want to be pleasured and having that experience in a loving way after experiencing so much trauma that was imprinted in their mind. And the very thing that, and this is not 100% of the time, but the majority of the time, whether the majority is 90% or 60%, it's over 50%. Lots of them, in my experience, wanted the very activity that they experienced in trauma. And maybe not at first. They were shy. They didn't turn around and say, okay, choke me. Okay, I'm performing an act on you. I want you to force my head down until I gag. I love that. Take me over, smother me, dominate me, make me feel helpless. They don't come out at first and say that. But when you try to be gentle and just show them that this is a loving experience and open up, there's a blockage there because they don't know how to receive what it is that you're doing because they've been imprinted with something else that needs to be torn down through therapy and healing, conversation, meditation. But they refuse to do it. They refuse to face it. But unless they face it and deal with it, it'll never go. So the only way to achieve that high point, read between the lines, is to find themselves in a situation that emulates the prior situation that brought them so much pain. I never could figure that out. And I want to hear from those who are listening. Have they experienced that? Or are you a person who goes through that metamorphosis where they go right back to the very thing? Some can get over it. Some have healed. Some have gone through the conversation, meditation, therapy, and healing. I understand that. But me as a man, this is what I'm telling you. And some of these women, when they're in the beauty salon, the beauty parlor, they will profess to other sisters as they dry their hair or get it washed or get it dealt with, or you're doing locks. I would never deal with a man like that. It would be over with me if he roughed me up. And so those same ones, I'm not blaming, because like I said, there are many who have gotten over that. But sisters, you got to understand, there's so many who haven't. And this goes for men also. I just used the example of a woman in that position. So that being said, it's up to them. You can't save them. You can't make these people not bond with other people who have experienced the same trauma, or the same trauma in a certain culture, the same trauma in a certain country, the same outlook. I was speaking with someone who you know very well on this platform, and we had a deep discussion. And the discussion swung around to individuals from a particular country. And most people know that my father is from the island of Jamaica. And to me, he was very conservative when you compare to what the media puts out as far as people from Jamaica, and especially Jamaican men, where they push this whole thing about weed and bomber clods and all of this and all of that, and the gold teeth and the grandstanding and, these big egos, and, that's what's pushed. That's not always the case, but we went really deep in a conversation. And again, my father is from a different generation. My father was born in 1916. So if he was alive now, he'd be 105 to turn 106 by November. So he's been gone a while. I haven't seen my father since 1990, so he doesn't even know about what those from his island are portrayed as in the media. And many of us buy into that. But as an example, and I will say this is not to demean anybody from that country. Because when you speak to Italians about their men, their women, the things that they do in their culture, you see, there's certain unique things about it. When you speak to one from China, the younger folks from China speak about the older traditional folks in a certain way and how certain things they had to get away from. The same with Korea, the same with Brazil, the same in Singapore. Every nationality has something going on there that is common to the world. And I'm saying it as clear as day. And it's going to be somebody who says I'm bashing. No, I'm not. I'm speaking on what I know through experience. And it doesn't mean the majority. It doesn't mean all. It's a shame that many of us are not high enough in our awareness to see that I always have to say that disclaimer for everything that I say and speak about. But in my observance of many from the island of Jamaica, and we were speaking about Jamaican men, my friend brought so many truths to the table. I was like, wow, I never saw it that way. I never thought about it that way. It is so true. As much as they claim the food is good and the weather is good and it's a beautiful country, so many of them are very toxic and messed up in the head. Am I saying it's only those from Jamaica? No. I said Italy. I said Switzerland. I said they all do it in a certain way. They're dysfunctions. We all have dysfunctions. I'm not saying it no more. If you come in the comment section with foolishness as though I'm bashing somebody, I'm going to deal with you. I'm not going to delete you. We're gonna raise your consciousness. So let me just flow. And what my friend was saying is that it seems as though the men from that particular island, they have to have the final word. They're very stubborn. They must make you see it this way or that way. And if you don't, it's a game now. You're the enemy now. They're going to have the last word. The egos are out of control, even if they have no reason to have an ego out of control, like large sums of money, lots of status, and lots of times it's a crab in the barrel mentality. Lots of times it's a competition, a pissing contest, and they don't like to see others who have ascended to a certain place in life. It's an envy, control. You must follow me. You must listen to me. You must not talk to this person. You must this, you must that. And it's like, you're so right. And he went as deep to say he feels because the British had ruled there so long and just controlled and executed their power on the minds of the people there, that it had become very toxic to them. And now they're executing what they know. That for such a small island, to have people who don't want to be themselves, whose minds were dominated by this religion That no matter what they do, the religion and the frustration of that control. And then now to have absolute power. Lots of times being heavy-handed in how they rule their household. And just the toxic households that I've come across speaking to people who grew up there and in households that were from there in different countries. And the strange idiosyncrasies that nothing good lots of times comes out of that situation other than the continuation of trauma. A lot from that island are traumatized badly. Yes, in Trinidad. Yes, in Barbados. Yes, we're talking about there because that's what I know and that's what he knows. And it was so true. You have abuse all over the world. Yes, we do. But we're speaking about this. And this is why many of these individuals, they're wishy-washy. Many of these men want to be feared, like a drug dealer who shoots people down when you cross. They want this. But it was funny when he said that many of them grandstand and act so tough. But when it comes time to face throwing down, they're not going to be there. Lots of them will run. They'll pull out a knife or a gun. Right up until the moment blows are exchanged. They sound so convincing. And they will talk about how they have a dislike for police and how they don't like police and they drop dead, they don't care. It's a happy day for them. But guess what? When something goes down, they're the first one running to the police when stuff happens. I was like, you know what? He said, most of them. Some now will fight. But most of them, You catch them on the road late at night. They don't act the way that they acted when they had a crowd or an audience. You see the fear on their face because they know deep down they can't handle you. So I said, man, how do you know so much about, because you're hitting things on the head, and how many are so concerned with things that have nothing to do with actual growth and healing, because the toxicity just continues to flow. And then he went a step further, and I wouldn't say this myself really all the way, but I'm pondering it right now. He says, out of the majority of them, which man from that place in this era has really produced anything honorable? He says many don't want to work. Many want to use their woman. That's why their women don't want to be bothered with them. That's why the ones that stick with them, when they're running their mouth and you see the woman's face and she rolls her eyes like, oh God, I've seen this. And that tells you a lot. Now, this is not about bashing Jamaican men. You understand? This is just an insight to prove the point of trauma and how it can destroy your life, and you can live with trauma and get trauma off of you later on in life and realize that you lived your life under the trauma that was dead and gone a long time ago, but you thought it was still alive. And this is for everybody now. I just thought I'd throw that in there to share a bit of the conversation. So maybe you want to comment on that. And again, I did not mean everybody. So just listen, I'm going to ask you, are you a fool? Didn't you hear what I said? But most people online, they only want to hear what it is that they want to hear. They don't want to hear the overall. And that's very sad. But you have to step back when people refuse to see that it's their trauma directing their decisions. And you have a right to not jump to the beat of their drummer, because that's almost like going on a 3-lane highway and the slow lane on the furthest right is to a dead halt. It's like a traffic jam in one lane. And you see the other 2 lanes next to you on the left, just moving along fine. Even the far left, almost to the point of speeding, right? But do you make a decision to stay in that lane, hoping that the drivers in front of you are going to feel your sense of urgency to want to move forward, but they don't. So what do? Do you sit there because of their decision, symbolically to stay in their trauma and ignorance? No, you have to do what you must do for yourself. And you need to get in those other two lanes that are moving. See, lots of times we will cut our blessings and the things that the universe has for us because we're waiting for this person who refuses to see what it is that you're sharing to help them. See, in their eyes, you become the enemy because you're trying to dislodge them and remove them from their trauma, which is a good thing. But because they're so in love with the trauma and those who have experienced the trauma, you become the enemy to them and to those others who have the same traumatic experiences in the way that they have experienced it. Because culture can be mixed in. This is why I mentioned that island in the Caribbean, because it's done in a certain way, and it's almost like they can start a sentence and the other person can finish it. So there's a bond, there's a trauma bond. Even though on the outside it looks like a celebration of culture, deep down the insecurities that are there and the proximity to you now being an outsider, never coming up that way, it pushes you to be an outsider. But it's a unhealthy, toxic union that they have that you can never be a member of. Because now you're coming with something refreshed, with something new that can break the trauma that keeps them together. You're not trying to keep them apart. You're just trying to break the trauma, but they're all holding on to the same trauma. So you know what? Let it go. Because just like I said in the beginning, you have people who dance and waltz through life with their trauma until the day of their transition. And you look down into the casket, or you look up at the urn, or you look at the picture at their memorial service, whatever kind of service you have, and you realize they never released the trauma that they had. That, my friend, has got to be a very painful death. Because you're not going to take that trauma with you. And at the point of you leaving this plane, you are going to have to release that trauma all at once. Can you imagine? Do you think that you stay the way you are and transition? I don't know what's on the other side, but I can damn sure tell you that you can't take that with you. You say, well, you can't take your car, you can't take your house, you can't take these things with you. You can't take your trauma with you either. So you're going to have to deal with it all in one lump sum. And before you make the complete transition, you're going to realize the baggage that you've been carrying around with you. And you are going to regret it. Yeah, the regret may not last too long because you're moving into a different realm. But for that split second, you're going to realize how much time you wasted with your particular trauma. You're going to realize how much you're invested, or how much you've invested in that trauma, how much it limited you, how much it kept you away from new, healthy relationships, to travel through the world light. You're going to realize this. And this is something that's not going to sit well. You don't want to have to wait to that point to realize that you're free. That there is no medal or no honor or no accolades that you're going to get for continuing family dysfunction and trauma. You're not going to get anything for that. But don't expect the next person to sit there and have themselves shackled. If you commit a terrible crime and you end up incarcerated, I don't care how many people love you. Are they going to share in your incarceration? Well, I love you so much, I'm going to just walk into the jail and tell them to let me in the cell, and I'll eat the jail or prison food, and I'll limit myself from life because you did something that kept you in that place. Now, with your trauma, you inherited it. You didn't do anything to inherit it, but you did something to hold on to it. Right? So do you expect me to shackle myself to your trauma because you choose to not move beyond that? How many of us do that, thinking we're winning brownie points with them, that we deny ourselves certain things? Well, they were traumatized by not eating or being forced to eat this type of food all of their life, from birth up until when they were teens, and then they were free in the world and they didn't have to do it anymore. But they were traumatized with potatoes every day. They were forced to eat potatoes every day. So now they're an adult and they get married to someone. This could be male or female. And their mate says, "Oh, I can't wait to have a nice dish with potatoes. Mashed potatoes. I love them. I have wonderful memories of growing up. And every time my mother made potatoes or my father made potatoes, it was such an enjoyable dish to me." So she or he who was traumatized by the potatoes is not going to see it that way. If that person who was traumatized with potatoes had a higher mind to say, "It was me who was traumatized with the potatoes. It wasn't my mate. Wasn't my spouse. I'm going to make them for him, or I'm allow him to go out and get them." If maybe she may not want, or he may not want to make them because it's so traumatic. It's like, I don't want to see a potato in my kitchen. They can come to an agreement and explain how they feel about this and have the understanding that others can feel different about the same thing. And that traumatized person can say, "Oh, yes, I understand. I understand." And that person who loves potatoes understands that until they heal up in their dislike for potatoes because of the trauma that was experienced from youth, that they can get along. But the frustrating thing is when you explain and you come and you sit down at the table, and the next day you're in the kitchen making potatoes, and the person that you explained it to acts as though they didn't hear a word from you in your explanation. Imagine that. It's like, where were you when I was explaining this? And I took time and detail, and you took time and detail. I understand you, but now all of a sudden, it's like we never had that talk. Do I need to explain this all over again? And even if you have the patience to do that, you'll be wearing yourself down, because you notice that no matter what you do, they are so caught up in their trauma. You can say 2 + 2 is 4. They might turn around and say it's 5 or 3. And you realize that this is a person holding on to their trauma and the trauma bonding that they have with other individuals who have similar backgrounds, that you will never, ever be free of their trauma, but you have to separate yourself from them in that respect and say, "Listen, this is not my fight." Say this to yourself. "This is not my fight. I am not your savior." If you want to say God, if you want to say universe, this was given to me to live and enjoy in a healthy manner. I seek healing. But we have to part ways in a way where you don't seek healing. You seek to run back to the trauma that you experience. You experience gagging and being choked and being your hair pulled and overwhelmed and smothered. So this is what you like when it comes time to indulge in the intimacies behind closed doors. And even that, well, if I know that you want that, it may come from trauma. But if you say you need that, then maybe that could be accommodated because I understand. But while I'm accommodating you in your wishes, know that it can't remain that way. Because for me to give you a situation that's constructed to emulate what you experienced that was traumatic, I'm helping you to stay there. I'll be like the shoehorn that gets the foot in the shoe. I'll take you there, but you're not going to stay there too long. You'll have to come out of there. It's almost like the whole theory of giving methadone to heroin addicts. Methadone still gets you high, but on paper, it's supposed to be where you can reduce it without the addiction. But that becomes an addiction in itself because it's not the drug, it's the addictive personality. So giving another chemical for a chemical is not going to cure anything. You have to get at the root of the person, right? But you now, dealing with that trauma-based individual, you have your life. There is no medal. There's no celebration for you staying in that slow lane that's jammed down to a halt while the other lanes are moving. You, as the person with that complex to want to save, why do you want to save when you're choking yourself off? You have the right to live your life guilt-free, because a trauma-based person, lots of times they don't want you to go beyond what their trauma can see, and they will hold you back. They want you to stay in a slow lane with them, but at the same time, they're not going to appreciate you for that. And that's sick. I'm coming into your life to limit myself because of your trauma that you don't want to deal with. You have one person cleaning the yard, pruning some of the bushes and trees, picking up litter, and you have another person who doesn't want to do that at all. They're actually adding on. They throw things down. They let things grow. They do everything that's counterproductive to your garden and your yard and your landscaping. So you're running behind thinking that they're appreciating you by cleaning up behind them. No, they're not. They don't even notice you. And how many of us have to go through many years of that before we realize that we are wasting our time? There are things you want to do. There are things you want to try. There are things you want to experience. And no, I'm going to be faithful to this person's trauma. But the minute you go out to that restaurant and eat those potatoes that you want, they're going to make a big fuss about it. How dare you? You know I don't like potatoes, but that's not me. That's you. And I thought we had an understanding. But how long can a person deny themselves the things that they want, the things that they desire, the things that they crave, just because? Just because one person says, oh, I don't see it that way. So you have to automatically, especially when you're expanded on a high level of awareness, vibrating high, reduce your vibration. If I'm a man who's a millionaire and I come around and I'm dating a woman who at most makes $25,000 a year, which in America is not much at all, do I now reduce the taste of where I like to dine, of where I like to go for my entertainment, or the things that I can afford, not to be flamboyant? No, I'm not doing anything to be flamboyant on anybody. I'm just living my life. But because I can do that, does that mean now that I'm showing off on her? Because she's used to it and has accepted the limitations that come with making that amount of money, which you can still expand yourself. Is not just about money. It's so many different other levels, but so many people get into the poverty mindset where they accept that this is their best life, where they accept that they're not going on any higher. And when you're one who challenges those illusions of limitations and breaks through, how do you think that person feels? That's sitting there watching you ascend day after day, whether they crawl onto your YouTube page and hate to watch you, but they can't help it. And they can't understand why they won't ascend. And you have a difference in philosophies. So how can this relationship work? And I said millionaire to really represent other things. You don't have to be a millionaire. You can be one who has a very positive mindset to achieve things on many levels. It may not even be about money. It's about achieving an awareness, a higher vibration. We have a lot of frauds out here who talk the key words to trigger friendships with others. You know, I'm very spiritual and I vibrate high and energy and, you know, and it's a lure to a low vibrational person who's a wolf in sheep's clothing to get into your life, to just suck from you and use you and pull from your resources. They do that. I'm very good at spotting those people, you see. So when people want to pull you into their trauma and expect you to live by the rules of what they were traumatized with, you can stay with them. You can do what they do, but it's not going to be comfortable for long. And I just want to say you should have no guilt. I don't care about any of man's laws. You have a right to eat the foods you want. If it's something that may not be good for you and you understand this, you still have that right. If that's what you enjoy, try to improve your diet. If we have man's law that say that this is a limitation of this or that, and you're not really breaking universal laws, look, you have the right to be loved. You have the right to be loved the way you want to be loved. Why are you being denied something because of some trauma in someone else that they don't want to be bothered with? I've come to that realization in my life long ago, but as time goes on, I realize I can do what I want that pleases me. I can do this. If I want this, this is why we have groups and certain groups on Facebook and Twitter and, YouTube. You have certain tribes of people that they follow a certain mindset mentality and they just love it because they're into that thing. It could be culinary. It could be cultural. It could be something sexual. How many of us are denying ourselves something sexual that we need because the other person just doesn't like it and they don't even try? I mean, as long as it's not trauma-based, right? They're so messed up that they can't even enjoy intimacy. And here you are choked off thinking that you're going to get a medal for refusing and abstaining. You're going to explode. You know what I mean? And you know what I say? You indulge in what it is that feeds your soul and brings you happiness. You indulge. What do you mean by that, SCURV? You're saying? Yes, I'm saying it. Your heart and your soul needs to be fulfilled, not just on a sexual level, but on so many other levels. You need to have that satisfaction in your life. Then why would you get up in the day every day and say, well, I'm getting up to be denied? And it's not just sex now, but it could be your favorite dish. It could be a walk in your favorite park that others, I don't want to go to, I don't want to go. But when their trauma-based friends call them, they're up at the crack of dawn, ready to enjoy the day because, see, they have that bond. That trauma, and they're resentful of you who don't have that. This is what happens when I was speaking about the island of Jamaica and the toxicity of it. Beautiful place, good food, wonderful people, but there's a lot of toxicity there. When you are enjoying your life and you have those from there or anywhere, this can be anywhere because trauma is everywhere. But I spoke on that because that's my experience and that's the conversation I had with my friend the other day. There's a resentment. I grew up limited, and look at you enjoying yourself. There's a resentment, an underlying resentment. They'll smile with you and talk with you for a time. But after a while, they'll see your free spirit and be so pissed off. How can he be so free and I'm so trapped? You see what I mean? And there'll be that resentment. Even those who, from that place, aspire to go to this place called America. And I want everything American. I don't want to be part of this place anymore. But you can't deny it because your very accent reveals who you are. Unless you try to twang, change your accent. You can't do that. Especially me, born in America. I'm a stolen African. My father's from Jamaica. Old school, hardworking, not a clown. My mother's from America, but I was born an American. For that fact alone, I'm resented. It's like many from other countries, and especially that place, they wanted to be that so bad, but never had the opportunity to come there and live for an extended time or indulge what they thought was the advantages of being an American. So they look at you like, look at you, you privileged, whatever. You didn't have to get up in the morning and walk for miles up a hill with water on your head just to have some water because we didn't have running water. You don't know what life is. So when they get around others who had to do that, they look at you like the outcast. But in actuality, because of that, they really wanted to be you. And they're mad that you didn't have to go through what they went through. And these are grown-ass people having children and grandchildren, being wonderful people on the outside too, but they have their resentments. Is that something? How the mind works? And trauma resentment. You didn't go through what I went through, so we could never really be close. Then why are you with that person? Is it a facade? Why are you around the people that you're around? Some trauma-based people, let's take from the island of Jamaica again, and some will come to America and push themselves up with these different groups. And because, yes, I'm there now. I've made it. I've attained my whiteness, or I attained my American card, and it's the only people I hang around is that. And you're still insecure, and you're still trauma-based, and you're still imprinted with things that are inside of you that you really didn't seek to go to the root of it. You ran away from it instead of dealing with it. It's like those bills on a dresser that you don't want to address, and they pile up, and the pile looks so big, you don't even want to see it. You don't even look at the pile of bills there. Comes to a point the pile gets so high, you don't even want to go into the bedroom to see the bills on the dresser. And the thing is, when you finally call the creditors and deal with it and work out payment plans, when it's all done, you say, wait a second, that was easy. That wasn't so bad at all. Wow. You mean I walked around with the stress and it really wasn't that stressful? Amazing. This is a topic that we can just go in on forever. But for those who are with those trauma-based people who are limited and who will probably walk with their trauma to the day they die, you going to walk with that trauma to the day you die or the day they die? Because the thing is, they might outlive you, and you limited yourself in their trauma, denying yourself the things that you need and you want, and you have a right to if you so desire. You have the right to choose whatever item it is in the restaurant of life, off that menu of life. You have a right to choose anything off of that. You can't let people say, no, you can't choose that. That is not the way. You have to do it this way. No, you stay in your trauma. And when you get away from these people, you feel so free. But if you're there and you're in a committed relationship, or you're married to them, or it's a business thing that you can't get away from, but you feel their traumatized ways, there's a certain place, that certain line that must be drawn. You don't have to tell them about it either. But you go on and do what you need to do guilt-free. You go on and do what you have to do guilt-free. I remember I was in a brief pairing, I'll say it that way, for about 3 months. It was kind of committed relationship. I knew there would be problems. This individual had a lot of great traits about them, but quickly, even though I was younger, I realized they are not going to let go of their trauma. I didn't say it that way, but I just knew it. And we both had needs, put it that way. But their needs were easily satisfied. And with me, it's not going to be that hard. If I'm committed to you, anything you want off the menu, baby, you can have as much as you want. I will do it for you, because I probably enjoy doing it for you too. But I'm not complicated. But there's certain little fetishes I have. Not nothing crazy. But because of their trauma, they're like, I'm not doing that. It was nothing wild now. I'm not going to put my business out there like there was something like that. That's all. You know, some people like their ears nibbled or their nipples licked, or, you know, certain little things happening, whatever. They want to see a visual. They want certain things. Yeah, no, I'm not doing it. It wasn't about the act, which 99.9% of the people in the world would do. Like, that's all. But it was something where it wasn't even about that. It was that I'm going to refuse you pleasure. You can't get what you want. Because when I was traumatized early in life, and this person was not even traumatized sexually, they were just denied. Every time they wanted to do something as a child, they were told no. So they learned quickly that they had to act like they didn't really want to do the things that they really wanted to do. And the parents would say, oh, you can go ahead and do that. So the parents, she figured out, just wanted to deny them. So guess what? What behavior was continuing in her? So, you know, the relationship in the short time degraded. We hit it off really good and was around each other and was like, went really deep. And it just fell apart just as fast. After about 6 weeks into that, I was like, I'm young. I was crazy too. I went on and met someone else, and we had an arrangement. I can't tell you the circumstances. And I was a wild boy back then. And they were in a situation where they were denied certain things. And I was, well, hey, we'll make sure we're covered. And when that other young lady realized that I wasn't even coming around that much, she wanted to frame it where, oh, it's because of that. No. It's because of your refusal or you wanting to deny me. That's what it was. You know what I mean? Even if you said you do certain things with me that I like, I'm not going to demand it every day. But if you tell me, like I always use the example, if you tell a person that if your favorite cake is chocolate cake, and when was the last time, let's just say it is, it may be something else, apple strudel, cheesecake or coconut something, whatever. Let's just say it's chocolate cake. And you say my absolute favorite cake is chocolate cake. I love chocolate cake. But if I ask you when's the last time you had some, you might say 8 months ago. Dang, as much as I love it, I haven't had it in a long time. It works that way. But if I told you that for the rest of your life, you are never going to have chocolate cake, well, guess what? That very moment, you're going to start craving it. That very moment when you go in the supermarket, you're going to see the bakery, going to have nothing but chocolate cake. In your mind, it could be 2 pies or chocolate cakes, two full cakes, and the rest other things. You see that. You see commercials that have nothing to do with chocolate cake, but you see a chocolate cake in the commercial. Trucks with the wraps around on the side, a picture of a chocolate cake. Chocolate cake. Walking down the street, somebody's walking towards you, big piece of chocolate cake in their mouth and a wad of it in their hand. You're going to crave this thing beyond measure because you were told that you'll never have this for the rest of your life. So what do you think you're pushing the person to do? See, all I say is that don't limit yourself because of somebody else's traumas. And understand and try to understand as a lesson to be learned what their traumas were and how it affected them, because you might run into somebody else with a different set of traumas wrapped in a different culture, not done in the way that maybe Jamaicans do it, but the way folks from Costa Rica do it, the way that people in the Midwest do it, the way that people from Canada do it, the way they do it in China. Understand this so you can avoid those red flags. And you don't have to do something that at the time of your development, you may feel guilty. But at this point in my life, there's no guilt for anything. If I need it, I'm not going to broadcast it to the world. I'm going to do it. Like today, I want to go to the beach. There's nobody telling me I can't go to the beach. But if you try to stop me from doing something I want to do, I know that's going to nag me. And why are you trying to deny me going to the beach? I'm going to go. Why are you trying to deny me or just being inconsiderate because of your traumas that I can't eat chocolate cake? No, I'm going to go somewhere. You won't see me. I'm going to indulge and love it and not feel an ounce of guilt because it's what I like and what I require. You see, on the wrap up, you were given this life. You probably have your own set of traumas that you need to heal from, meditate on, get therapy from, or for. You have your own. And if you're successful in ridding yourself of the toxicity of your particular traumas, it's not always sexual, right? You are moving in a victorious space and you have shed it. And there will be some who envy you because of you being free, in a free spirit, because they know they're trapped. They don't want to see you do what you do because they're trapped and you're not. They know you're going to ascend to a higher level because you don't carry the equivalent baggage that they do. This is why they hunker together, and you wonder why these people like each other, because they have the same trauma. They speak the same language. They are not free. This is why dudes, many who have been locked up together for many years, they hang out with each other and stay stagnant lots of times. Very seldom do you see brothers who are locked up for an extended period of time come out and say, hey, let's start a business. Let's use our camaraderie that we developed in jail or prison for the good because we have a bond now. No, let's go get some liquor. Let's go get a spliff and sit here and say we're free and that we're enjoying our best life. Well, if you want to think that, do so. But don't get mad at me for flying high. Don't get mad at me for meeting new people. Don't get mad at me for pushing myself and going beyond whatever limits I might have thought that I had, because I don't think I have limits. Number one, I used to a point, but I was raised in a nurturing, loving household. And when I say that, for some that I know, it's like throwing holy oil on demons. Oh, why are you saying that? I had someone close to me tell me, oh, you think you're all that because you had a wonderful childhood. And this is a person who didn't have quite a wonderful childhood. So you got to understand that there'll be little resentments that maybe won't come out for many years or even decades in a relationship or friendship, because they're resentful of the childhood that they weren't ever around to experience because they didn't know you then. But they can see the results and they can see how free you are. And there are people who envy you for that. Let me tell you something. There are people in the past who have envied me because I'm uninhibited when it comes to all things sexual. I'm a nudist. I like to be naked. My laundry bill is not that high. I don't accumulate clothes as much when I'm at home to be washed because I'm not wearing them. And that freedom alone translates into other parts of my personality being free. If I have been one to experiment with different things when I was younger on a carnal level, and I know myself, I know the buttons that I need to push myself to the highest limits of ecstasy. There are people who will envy you for that because they do things too, but it's secretive and shame-based and ridden with guilt. They get it. They don't talk about it. They don't enjoy it. Like that person that's supposed to be on a diet and they go and have a cheat meal and they don't say nothing about the cheat meal, but they say, look, if I want to eat anything that I want to eat, I'm going to eat. You think I've been a strict vegan since I landed here in the crowd? No, I've sampled all kind of things. I'm plant-based, but if I want to eat a piece of this, I'm going to eat it. I ain't going to hide. I'm going to tell you. And there are many who resent you for that. They'll tell you not to eat something, but they'll go somewhere and eat a big pizza with cheese on it, slip off and eat meat, but tell you because they have to find a way to come at you while they live a lie. I'm not living a lie. No, I'm not. Is homosexuality my fight? No, it's not. But if you do what you do and you say that's what you want to do, whatever, no matter how I feel about it, I got to respect you for saying, hey, this is who I am, as opposed to that person who's in the closet and doing what they do and coming out and cursing the very ones who do the same thing they do. Even on a hetero level, I like it all with a woman. I love it all. I don't put my business out there, but on certain shows, if you've been listening for a while, you'll understand that I got no hold back. I'm uninhibited and I love it. I'm a flaming heterosexual. Top, bottom, front, and back, baby. Everything I want. I love it. And there's some men who are, you're talking about this and look, you deal with your hang-ups. If I want to do something and taste it from the rooter to the tutor, then hey, that's what I like. Let's move on. I'm not carrying your baggage. You carry your baggage. You brought all this baggage to the airport. I asked you if you needed help and we can put it on those little trolleys that can move it, but you came, you lied to yourself, you lied to me. Now we get ready to get on a flight and now you want to pack up the pickup truck or the van or the car with all this baggage. We ain't got no room for that. And even if we do, I'm not carrying your baggage. I'm not going to do it. I'll help you to try to see it, but when you refuse and walk away, leave your baggage here, and you go sit down and get something to eat, and you watch me to see if I'm going to make that my problem. No, I'm walking away with a little bit of baggage I have. I'll wait for you by the checkout or the check-in. There's people do this too, you know. They have ways of manipulating you into making their trauma yours while they skedaddle off in their the trauma-based mindset. And you're holding all of this weight. Hell, let's just get raw with it. If I like oral sex and you don't, I'm going to get it. You like it, but you don't want to do me. then guess what? I'm going to get it done somewhere. I'm just being raw for the shock effect now. I'm just saying, in these things, there are simple activities that your spouse may want to indulge themselves in. They may have a hobby. Encourage them in that hobby. Learn a little bit about that hobby. It doesn't mean that that's going to be your hobby that you just, but you want to accommodate. And there's that word again, accommodate. On the Lancescurv show, you know what that means. But why would you refuse them that joy of, they know that you're not into that all the way, but you're taking interest to make them feel good, to let them know, I want to know this so I can be there and not so much of a stranger so you feel good. Why not encourage them with the good things? But the trauma-based person is always going to limit you because you got to carry their bags, and to hell with you after carrying their bags, because they haven't. You carrying their bags is not going to bring those people into a place of healing. They have to come out and do that. They have to admit they have a problem or a challenge. I hate to use the word problem, but in this case, I'll use it because that's a problem. Because you're walking around with it and it's a heavy weight on your soul and in your spirit. It's a problem. And that's a problem that they'll easily dump off on you, and you'll be left holding the bags trying to figure out what in the hell kind of situation do I find myself in. I'm in life, I have life and I have health, but I feel limited. I feel cramped. I feel as though I can't do anything like I used to. I can't flap my wings and fly high. Why do I feel this way? I got big, strong wings. I got health. I have a wonderful mind. I can help other people with their issues, but I can't help myself with mine. You got to look at who the hell you plugged up to. But what kind of situation is that? What do you hope to get from that? So therefore, when you go do what you do, you're not supposed to feel no guilt, because they're not feeling no guilt for holding you back. And they might die before you, and you're looking in the casket like, okay, they're dead. What am I going to sit here and still stay limited? No, then you go on and live your life. But why can't you do that before? Why can't they love you enough to say, live your life, get what it is that you need? You should be the one trauma-based person providing it, but I'm not going to wait no more. At what point do you wait for a bus that's scheduled to show up at midnight to get you to your destination by 2 a.m. and 1 a.m. comes, it hasn't showed up, 2 a.m. it comes? At what point do you say to yourself, I'm going to start walking? It's going to take a lot longer. Now you'll turn around. Occasionally you hear a vehicle coming behind you. Is that the bus? Oh, no, it's not. But I'm going to keep on walking. I'm going to get there regardless whether you pick me up to take me there or not, because my happiness is not your responsibility. I'm going to say it again. My happiness is not your responsibility. And your happiness is not my responsibility. But I want to see you happy. So I'm going to point the direction that maybe, and suggest, whether you like it or not, that maybe you need to have therapy. Maybe you need to meditate more and seek within what the problem is, what the challenge is, and seek healing. But if you don't, I got my own healing to do. I got my own fulfillment and realization of certain realities that I want to experience on this level. How dare you think I'm going to take on your trauma and sit down and just live a life of nothingness, all because of you and the trauma that existed in your life before I met you. So now I'm going to reduce the vibration of my life? No. I'm telling everybody, don't let people put guilt on you to limit you because you refuse to take on their trauma. I rambled. I talked about this, and that. But that's the bottom line. You all know I like to talk, but I had to give examples. Don't feel guilty about finding happiness. If you need to be loved a certain way, if you love it when your spouse walks up to you and just hugs you and tells you they love you, well, if they don't do that for you, what are you going to do? Find somebody who loves you. Now, don't just keep it hidden. Go on and make it right. You have to tell that person, listen, this can't work. You got too much trauma on you and it's affecting my life. But go on and find the happiness that you want in this life, because life is just so short. And how dare they think that they can limit you, because you are a free spirit. And that's what usually happens when they see that you're just happy and you're free. There's a resentment. They can claim that they love you, but they don't really love you at the end of the day because they don't even love themselves. They don't love themselves enough to free themselves from the trauma. They don't love themselves. So how are they going to love you when there's a layer and a barrier of trauma between you? How are you going to burn the eggs in the pan when there's a whole lot of butter and oil in there? There's no connection because there's a barrier of the butter or the oil between the egg that's frying on the pan. Throw that egg in there with no butter, no oil. It'll burn up real quick. But when you have the direct connection, you'll burn up real quick with happiness when you get those hugs. When you have a person that you know wants you on all levels, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Do not feel guilty for getting what it is that you need. Not some old addiction thing where, yeah, he said, no, I did not say go out there and just do all kind of crazy stuff just because that's in you anyway. But if you take a bite of that chocolate cake and go back for some more, and you keep finding yourself every now and then at that restaurant, enjoy. You went through the healing, meditation, and therapy to clear out the trauma in your life so you can get a full blast of enjoyment, because those trauma-based people can't really enjoy life. You can give them $1 million, they ain't going to enjoy it. You can give them the newest car, or they can work hard to become millionaires in the biggest house, but they still are going to be miserable. And I found this. I even had a couple, not just one person, 2 people who are married, plotting and planning on how to destroy my YouTube channel. Here y'all are millionaires, can do it, fly, whatever, and go wherever you want. And you watching me? And I'm watching it every step of the way. Little tricks and little things they try to lure you into. And what? How you feel. I'm still here, doing my thing, creating, reaching people more so now. And the funny part about it is they ain't even together no more. What the hell? It's crazy. It's crazy. So don't think you can't have groups of people coming at you. And they don't really say it out like, we're going to destroy They just, like that little girl who's in school who has a pretty hairstyle and the other girls don't like it. They don't say, let's get together and go after her because she has a pretty hairstyle. They all feel that collective resentment and start doing things to her, throwing things at her, emptying out the ink and the pen in her hair, and the other one's laughing. See, it's an unwritten, unspoken thing on a spiritual level. Because like I said before, demons operate on the spiritual plane also. We hear the word spiritual. Oh, we think it's just, all goodness and angels. And I mean, I'm just saying it for effect. I don't see that, right? Little white angels and, They're on the same radio we are. They're on a different frequency, but they're picking up frequencies, radio frequencies. It doesn't specify what megahertz it is, or if it's FM or AM or shortwave, or no, radio frequencies. The demons and the evil and the traumatized are right there too, listening to your transmissions and plotting a way to stop you from doing what you're doing. Why do you think signals are encrypted now digitally, so you can't pick it up unless you have the right equipment to do so? Because in war back in the day, the enemy's listening to the enemy of them, their transmission. Oh, they plan on sending some planes over here to bomb, so you ready for them. That's the way it used to be until they figured out, oh, they're picking up our radio transmissions. Or they figured out what frequency we're broadcasting on. Now it's digital and encrypted. You can't pick up nothing. And I'm quite sure you can. But technology is so far beyond us right now. But that's the way it works. But anyway, I'm going to go and succumb to the need to eat my mangoes. And I'm going to come back. But I'm going to head out today and enjoy a wonderful, beautiful day. I have some wonderful people that I have to meet that I haven't met yet, that I don't even know. I have some gorgeous visuals to soak in when I'm at the beach and enjoying myself, because that's where I'm going to go to. And I'm going to record when I'm out there. I'm going to bring not much stuff, but just enough that if I run into somebody special, I can bring it back to you on a positive level so you can enjoy what I enjoy, because I'm a people collector. Whenever I see great energy, I say, listen, can I share this with my tribe, with my circle of friends and people who follow what I do? Sure. Talk to them. That's what I do. That's why you all know Mr. Johnson, right? You saw Mr. Johnson's little interview in his pharmacy. The man is even a more phenomenal businessman than I even thought, because off camera, he revealed certain things to me. And I'm like, this man, he is such an inspiration. And I sincerely mean that. And I could tell he's not used to that kind of praise, but he deserves it. He is one black man who is doing the damn thing. And those are the kind of people that I want to find myself around, with no resentments. So for you to get around and attract these progressive people, you've got to get rid of the traumas that you have. And how hard success, as far as the outward superficial trappings, must be when you have a traumatic or traumatized heart. It's harder for you. See, I don't have to say one day I'm going to be a millionaire. I know I will be. And not for the purpose of just money. And I'm already a millionaire in so many different ways, because I'm free. I'm free. And those who have attained the trappings of worldly success can't figure out why Lance is so happy. Why am I so free? How can my thoughts flow so free that I can sit in front of a microphone or sit in front of a recording device or grab a pen or a pencil and write, or get on the keyboard and type out an article or draw a picture, because I'm flowing within my soul and I'm free. And these traumatized people don't want you to have yourself to yourself. They want to keep you distracted. As soon as you sit down to create, they got 10 things they want to have you do, but they tell it to you one at a time. As soon as you sit down and start, I need you to do this. And you do it. Okay, anything else? No, not now. They stand off to the side and watch you. Okay, they're getting into it 10 minutes. I need you to do this. I said, wait a second. Just put on the list all the things you want me to do. I'll knock them. But they ain't going to do that. They want to keep using something that is legit, but they want to keep you from having yourself to yourself to manifest the life that you crave and because you're in charge of your life that way. You've been given the tools and the seeds of greatness. It's up to you now to carve out your existence to your liking. If I'm building something or creating something, I'm doing it to my liking, right? And I'll say it this way. A saying that's been in my head for the last few days, because that's sort of mean. Privacy is power. What they can't see, they cannot ruin. Move covertly. Move in a way where you guard yourself until a person has earned the right to be in your world. If you find that you have individuals that are in your world who really have these resentments towards you, there is no written or unwritten law that says you have to keep these people in your life. You get them out of your life. You do what you need to do where you don't even have to see them, because that is your right. Because unlike them, you're not a trauma-based individual. So you don't have to deal with their poisons and their toxic stares and all of this dysfunction. They just counted on hitching onto your positive energy to suck you dry of it for fuel for them and the joy that they're going to take, and seeing how they're going to keep putting you down and keeping you down. No, it doesn't happen that way. Every move has a counter move, and what you thought would be, it's not going to be. Not with my life and my life force, because you have nothing to do with my life force. My life force was given to me by my creator, and I can do what it is that I want to do no matter what it is. So you sit down with your do-nothing self and wonder. But understand, privacy is power. What they can't see, they can't ruin. And for this stretch of my life, I'm going to live it and enjoy it fully, and not let these toxic individuals, whether they're in an inner circle or outer circle, dictate the level of joy that you experience every day. And I suggest you do the same. I'm not telling you, I'm just suggesting, but I would strongly urge you to think from within. What is it in there for you? Stop sacrificing yourself for someone or some people who don't give a damn about you, only to the degree of what you can do for them. You got to get something out of it. I can go lewd with a couple of jokes, but I'll leave it at that. We'll save that for our adult shows. Give me some feedback on what you heard. And I just woke up and I don't know why I just started talking this way. Well, like I said, I had conversations and information sent to me, but it just stirred up other things inside of me. And that's just the way I do. You feel that. There's no script here, but it comes from the heart. And I'm glad that you vibe with me. And if you listening to this after this long time of me talking, you're really ride or die. And I appreciate you for being that way. But I'm going to have a wonderful day. I'm going to have a positive day. I'm going to see everything that's good in this day. And at the end of this day, I'm going to have so much to tell you when I go live to share my experiences in this journey. And I thank you for being in my life. And I thank you for what you bring into my life. And let's continue on this journey and all the wonderful things that will happen as we ascend into a higher level of vibration. Lancescurv out, on to the next one. Much love to my sisters. Salute to my brothers. Let's stay positive and keep cleaning out anything that's not helping you to heal. Because at the end of the day, you want to leave this plane better off than when you came in, and to not let the negativity imprint you with things that you'll have to let go at the point of transition anyway. Let's go for a smooth transition. Let's learn and have wisdom from this level and make it effortless, because our blades of awareness are so sharp. It's like cutting a hot knife, cutting through butter. Effortless. You're going to have to take your bumps early on in learning. But like that championship boxer, like Floyd Mayweather, who never really got hit and don't get hit. That's what you got to do in this life. Take care. Much love to you all. You know I love you. So long.
Why are we called Negroes? Why are we deaf, dumb, and blind? Why is everybody making progress, yet we seem to be lagging so far behind? Why are we mistreated? Why are we in this condition, stripped of our name, our language, our culture, our God, and our religion? Here in America, all of our religious training has been gotten by the preacher. He has told us of a heaven way up in the sky that we can't enjoy now, but rather after we die. But all of the years that we're living, for us there's nothing but hell, pain, torture, and misgiving. Yet the Bible speaks of a heaven filled with material luxury, which the white man and the preacher has right here, so we see. So my friend, take it for what it's worth. Your heaven and your hell is right here on this earth. So let's check back into history, which rewards all research and tells us plainly that before the white man gained entry to the east, he was living in the caves of Europe, a ravenous beast, eating juniper roots and eating flesh raw, till God sent Moses to civilize him and teach him the law. Then, following Marco Polo, an explorer, he gained entry into Asia and Africa. From China, he took silk and gunpowder. From India, he took jute, manganese, and rubber. He raped Africa of her diamonds and her gold. From the Mideast, he took barrels of oil untold, raping, robbing, and murdering everything in his path. The whole black world has tasted of the white man's wrath. So, my friend, it's not hard to tell. A white man's heaven is a black man's hell. before we came to America, we were living in the East. By the Nile River, we were living in luxury, enjoying freedom, justice, and equality. We wore silken robes and slippers of gold. We were the wealthiest and the wisest people, I'm told. Now we are the poorest of the poor. Nobody wants us at their door. So, my friend, it's easy to tell. White man heaven is black man hell. When the white man came to America, he told the Indian, I am your white brother. He said, red man, I'll treat you the best. Yet and still he pushed the Indian further west with his white woman and fire water. Tricks and lies, he stole America. The original owner of this nation is cooped up on a reservation. So my friend, it's easy to tell. White man heaven, black man hell. He needed someone to work the land. His back was too weak. He needed you, black man, so he commissioned Sir John Hawkins to commit the world's most grievous sin, to take a man who's born to be free and bring him down to slavery, to sell a man as merchandise, on his body put a price. Oh, my friend, it's easy to tell. White man heaven is a black man hell.